Australian tech mogul Mike Cannon-Brookes co-founded a company by the name of Atlassian in 2002 with his university mate Scott Farquhar. They actually funded their efforts with $10,000 in credit card debt, making project management and team collaboration software. It probably sounds pretty boring to you and me, but it paid off. In 2015, their company went public on the Nasdaq stock exchange, making Cannon-Brookes and Farquhar Australia's first tech billionaires. Of course, as billionaires, they bought massive houses in eastern Sydney, right next door to each other, where very few others can afford. Using his billions, Cannon-Brookes became the first Aussie to own an NBA team, the Utah Jazz. He got married and had 4 children, although, like many other billionaires, he has since broken up with his wife. Interestingly, The Guardian at the time didn't refer to him as a software guru, but rather billionaire climate activist Mike Cannon-Brookes and wife Annie to separate. Yes, outside of writing computer software, Cannon-Brookes is using his billions to save the planet. For example, in 2022, he spent hundreds of millions of dollars buying a significant stake in AGL, one of Australia's largest energy companies, and Australia's largest carbon emitter, in order to influence the company's direction and accelerate its transition towards renewable energy. Or just recently, through Atlassian, he sponsored a Formula One team, again in order to push it towards achieving net zero emissions. But surprisingly, or not, as a do as I say, not as I do climate activist billionaire, he recently decided to purchase a private jet. You know, the kind that use around 1,800 litres of aviation fuel per hour, or about 2.5 tonnes of CO2 per hour of flight. But a drop in the ocean. See, as a billionaire, I'm allowed to have massive houses and NBA teams and Formula One teams and private jets, but you shut up and walk or ride a bike because that will help the planet while I'm flying overhead. But don't worry, I feel a little bit bad about it. Billionaire climate campaigner Mike Cannon-Brookes defends buying private jet and sponsoring F1 team. You see, I'm super duper important, and without my ability to jet around in one of the most polluting forms of transportation, how else can I possibly lead the charge to save the planet? Specifically, Mr. Cannon-Brookes said, "I'm not denying I have a deep internal conflict on this. There's a couple of reasons I've purchased a plane. Personal security is the primary reason, an unfortunate reality of my world, but also so I can run a global business from Australia and still be a constantly present dad. So this is a hard, continual trade-off I've decided to make. Although private aviation is far from a big contributor to global emissions, it is a carbon-intensive way to travel. But don't worry, he's found a way to fly green. It probably comes as no surprise I have an extremely rigorous carbon regime for all my flying, including using direct air capture and sustainable fuels for the carbon and contrails, to far exceed my flight footprint. These options aren't practical for commercial flights, but are viable privately. This means my flights actually have a net negative carbon footprint." Oh, I see. By flying privately, he's essentially sucking pollution out of the sky as he's burning through thousands of litres of fuel. Every flight he takes is actually creating a negative amount of pollution. He should have said that earlier. I didn't realise his gas-guzzling plane is actually helping us plebs breathe easier, literally. He is saving the planet one flight and thousands of litres of aviation fuel at a time. In the meantime, China is doing whatever the hell it likes. Last year it built 100 gigawatts worth of coal-fired power stations. Another 94.5 gigawatts is under construction, and 66.7 gigawatts more have been approved. The Brazilian government are clearing large chunks of the Amazon rainforest so that they can build a road to the remote city of Belém. Why? So international delegates can travel comfortably to the COP30 climate summit. Yes, destroying forest in the name of saving the planet by holding a climate summit. I guess many of the delegates will be flying in on their private bombardier jets. As a tech guru, why doesn't he just use Zoom or FaceTime like everyone else? Couldn't he run his companies via teleconferencing? But of course, that wouldn't be nearly as luxurious.